sheet. We have imperialism, militarism, nationalism, and alliances. They are the long-term causes of World War I. But here's a hint, they are also long-term causes of World War II.
Can you repeat that? Imperialism and what else?
You have the review sheet?
I was writing conscriptive, which I sort of
No. The first four?
Oh, to be wrapped. Okay.
Okay. Right there at the top. Imperialism, militarism, nationalism. I am going to ask you about imperialism. Remember, there are a variety of ways countries can use imperialism. Ben, what is imperialism?
It's a form of government that's very aggressive and tries to conquer other countries and colonize.
Does it always conquer them?
No.
Or it just takes them.
Or it certainly influences them, one way or another. It could be that they actually take over and they become a colony, but there are three other forms of imperialism, right?
Can you tell us slowly so we can write it down? Thanks.
Colony is one of them.
So should we just like
Canada might say that we have economic influence over them. That would be another form,
Economically?
economically,
Another form of what?
of imperialism. Because Canada is so close to us and we have such a big economy, they are affected by our economy. So that's where economic imperialism comes from. Then there's something called a sphere of influence, right? And people might be part of a sphere of influence. For instance, Canada, Australia, India are all part of the British Commonwealth. It's a trade organization. They used to be part of Britain. They aren't anymore, except they are part of their, sphere of influence. And finally, the fourth one is a protectorate.
how do you spell that?
Protectorate. Protectorate. And that's a case, remember in Africa there were two countries, Augie, that were not controlled by Europeans in the late 1800s. You know the two countries?
Late 1800s.
Yeah. Remember when imperialism took over Africa and Europe took all of those countries and zoned it off for themselves? There were two countries that were taken. Ben?
I'm wondering, was one of them Ethiopia?
Yeah, one of them was Ethiopia, a kingdom. There's a small one on the west coast that was controlled as a protectorate of the United States. What was it, Ben?
Liberia.
Liberia, which is where a lot of slaves from the result of the Civil War in the United States went to, back to Africa. Yeah.
Should we know that?
Yep.
Wait, can you repeat that?
Would you repeat? What is a protectorate though?
So what do you want us
A
to
protectorate is, Liberia was a case of being a U.S. protectorate. We said to the Europeans, you can't take over Liberia because we have an interest in it.
So we say, so if
What is
the
that
higher
measure?
power says you
We
can't
are-
take over them?
We are protecting them. A protectorate.
That's like an anti-imperialism?
Would Liberia?
No, it's, we are sort of imperializing them, but we aren't really doing what other countries do, take their resources. We're just protecting them.
So
They're under our shield of defense. Yeah.
we're the protectorate or they're the protectorate?
They were the protectorate, we were the protector.
Okay.
So we protected Ethiopia and Liberia.
Not Ethiopia, Liberia,
So protectorate is what we protected.
for what we protect. Okay? Okay. So, we have those four, or all those four are followed in imperialism. What does militarism mean?
Making
Lucas?
the military larger.
Yeah, you develop your military to protect what you hold. If you're Belgium, for instance, and you take a big part of Africa, like the Congo, you need a way to protect it. But Belgium is also a small country, so what else might it do to protect itself and its holders? Have allies, an alliance. Yeah, that's the third part of long-term causes. And then the big one is nationalism. What is nationalism? Gabby?
I was reading that, sorry. A reference here.
A. Ron, yeah. He's in my political science class. A. Ron. Aaron. YouTube video, AA
Praise
route,
down.
block A. Right, you guys have seen that.
Ocean Mackenzie.
I have no idea.
Nationalism, what's nationalism? George, Jerry?
Pride in a group of people similar to you.
It's people that take pride in themselves or people like themselves because of their history, their religion, their geography, all the things that make them similar. So that's nationalism.
People who like
And people-
others like themselves.
Yeah, and tend to think that their way of doing things is always right.
America?
Well, I guess you could make that case. We think we're right.
Well, we are.
Yeah, it's even better when we are right. Huh?
We're just perfect as a society.
Not when you travel overseas.
My mom says that I always think I'm right.
No.
Yeah, that's probably right.
So those are the fortunes, long causes of World War I, but they also
What's right?
are the long-term causes of World War II.
What?
Because,
Happened
we
what?
had imperialism where countries took other countries. Didn't that happen in the 1930s?
No.
Germany took Poland, took Austria, Russia took Finland, Italy took Ethiopia, Japan took parts of China, Korea,
Taiwan.
not Taiwan. Yeah.
What were the alliances? There was the true
Alliances are there are two primary ones. There are a lot of little ones, but two primary ones. The Central Powers, who were in the Central Powers in World War I?
That was Germany, Italy,
For a time, Italy then changed, right?
Russia.
No. Germany and Russia are not on the same side.
Austria-Hungary.
Huh?
Russia.
Not Russia.
Austria-Hungary.
Germany, you're wasting time. Germany, Austria, Zaki? No. The Ottoman Empire, and a country we don't talk about a lot, Bulgaria.
And they were alliances
That was called the Central Powers. They were an alliance.
in World War I.
Matt?
What about Japan?
Japan isn't in World War II, except from a supply standpoint.
Germany.
Besides Bulgaria.
Germany and
No, besides
What? Just all the ones before that? Austria, Hungary, the Ottoman Empire, Germany,
Wait, what's after the Ottoman Empire? Germany and what else?
Yeah, Bulgaria, Austria, Hungary. Hey!
They've always switched.
That was effective.
the next one is, who are the triple entente countries? Justin?
France, England, and the United States.
Yeah, but there's somebody else, because we don't get into the war until when?
Dude,
Soviet Russia.
Russia.
Russia?
So really, it's not like three. It's like
Belgium actually is, but it's,
Wait, France, England, Russia, or what?
France, Britain, and Russia, but we know one of those is gonna get out of the war early. Who is it? Russia. And who comes in their place?
U.S.
Us. Yeah, good.
so Russia, England, France.
What about Italy? Wasn't Italy involved?
Italy was on the Central Powers, but then they changed,
And then they realized.
ostensibly they changed sides because they thought it was unfair of Germany to go through Belgium. And they were an ally of Britain.
That's what they said.
Okay.
They did because they didn't.
Ottomans, yeah, should be E. Okay. Yes,
Is the Triple Alliance, like, is that the Triple Entente?
yeah, they called themselves the Allies, but they really start out as the Triple Entente.
These are like the next.
What?
I know, it's there's actually.
What do you get for alliances?
Huh? Now, when we talk about imperialism, which is controlling territories, what regions of the world are subject to imperialism? Ben?
Third world countries.
Well, that's too big a broad an explanation. What areas of the world?
Like
Give me one.
Africa.
Africa. Remember, Africa was taken over by European powers. What else was taken over? Ben?
Asia.
Asia in the respect to
United
food.
States.
Japan.
It's true, guys. United
China.
States.
Or China.
Are we?
There was also Southwest Asia. Do you know who that was?
Oh, actually, I was going to say the United States.
Were we taken over by somebody?
Oh, no, we kind of took over.
Who's
a
Africa
long
taken
time
over
ago.
by?
European powers. China was taken over. The third area would be India, who was taken over by who?
British.
The British. Anybody else?
That was in 1812.
Australia was taken over by the British. Lucas?
Indochina by.
Indochina is
France.
part of Southeast Asia.
Oh,
Yeah.
Vietnam.
French Indochina.
The Israel area and, Syria and.
There is no Israel at this point.
No.
Israel area.
Like it was
Palestine.
Which was known as
Pakistan.
Palestine. Yeah.
And Jordan.
So,
Jill.
we have different world regions. We talked about the different types of imperialism. When people used imperialism, no matter what type it was, Gabrielle, what were the negatives associated with imperialism? What negatives did the country being controlled suffer? Justin, give me one of them.
Like they weren't like, they were under their government, so they didn't have their own government.
So they lost freedom, right? Okay, freedom and culture probably. What else did they lose?
Also kind of like, I guess religion, because like,
Could be religion, but there's other negatives. What's the first thing they did when countries would take big swaths of Africa?
They just kill people.
Take their
They just kill people,
natural
really?
All resources.
Well, their intent is to take resources, but what do they do to map out where they are?
Well, they like created like competition throughout like these places.
Well, they do, but they also mark out their territory with new borders, and they use straight lines. If you look at the United States, there's only one place in the entire country that has straight lines from 4 states.
The top.
Oh,
The top.
no.
No, the four corners.
Isn't there straight
Four
up?
corners area. Everywhere else uses rivers, jagged lines, mountain ranges, whatever it is that is the borders. And when the Europeans came into Africa, they put all these straight lines. Well, that created, these new borders created problems because tribes would be cut in half by a straight line. So you had people on the wrong side of the line from where they used to be. So that causes tension between the 100+ tribes that were in Africa.
Tensions between.
Yeah, tribes.
And
That's a negative of imperialism. We also saw that there was a lot of starvation and famine. Why would that occur if a more prosperous country takes over a territory? Marley?
Because there's more money going to the richer people? Or they're
Well,
taking the
to an
money for.
extent, but it's partly because of what
Military.
they're doing. What are they doing what's the country that controls doing that might cause starvation? Zaki?
They start taking their resources to feed their people.
Well, they do take their resources, but not necessarily to feed their people. Ben?
They're probably holding a army, like a army in that general area, so.
No, not exactly. Do they